Hello everyone, and welcome to my Week 5 Power Rankings, unless you're Reggie, in which case it's your Week 6 Power Rankings, or if you're Hazy Basilisk 47, in which case it's your Week 4 Power Rankings, and also if you're Kudo, it's your rank, or Week skipped 5 and now 6 Power Rankings. It's pretty confusing, but anyways, just power rankings, same as usual. So let's get right into it. At number 11, I have Kudo. So he hasn't played Hazy Basilisk 47 yet, but I would be very surprised if he wins it. Just because Kudo has not been playing or prepping very well. He kind of just brings very similar sets each week, and I can't really even kind of figure out what he's trying to do with each given set. So yeah, he played very poorly around Reggie's Incineroar and got 6-0'd by it. Hopefully he figures out how Prankster works soon. But yeah, until the prep and play improves, you'll be staying at number 11. Number 10, I have Enzo, who got beaten pretty badly by Classiel. He didn't seem to acknowledge that there's a Ditto on the other side, or that you shouldn't bulk up in front of it when it copies you. It wasn't even, it was not imposter Ditto, so then he stole the extra boost by clicking transform on him when he could have just killed it. It was really dumb, but I don't know. So yeah, really bad preparation for a Ditto and a lack of understanding of what the Ditto is going to do, and it's just generally not good prep or play to beat Classiel's team. So I have him moving down one spot just because that performance was not very impressive, and the person above him, Flare, although I wasn't impressed by his performance, it at least wasn't bad like Enzo's. He played D Winchell, and he kept it kind of close. I think it was 3 or 4-0, not a 6-0 like Enzo and Kudo were this week. Maybe it was a 2-0, I don't remember. But he continues his trend of just never bringing a Scarfer, which I don't think is very good. For a hyper offense team, he's relying on beating anything faster than his entire team, or anything that has a scarf with his Excadrill under sand, and that's not a particularly reliable way to do it. He also said that he was planning on trying to sweep that game with his Excadrill, but he brought Sand Rush against a team that had a Rotom Wash. So obviously Mold Breaker would have had a much better matchup here. But he didn't bring the Mold Breaker for some reason. And then also, he said he thought that it would do very well once he got rid of the Rotom Wash, which is fair enough, but obviously D Winchell's not going to let you take care of the Rotom Wash for nothing because it's checked to your Excadrill. So you need to find a way to pressure it, or have a game plan to get that damage on the Rotom Wash, and you just didn't do that. So yeah, no real game plan or any set in mind way to break through D Winchell's team. So yeah, for that I have him at number 9. He also these three teams are just distinctly worse in record against every other team, all only having one win. So next up is D Winchell, who is the first of, I think, the rest of the 3 and 2 teams, except for Hazy, but I'm going to basically count him as 3 and 2 because he's playing Kudo. So D Winchell played Flare, maybe a bit closer than it should have been. He could have played this game more dominantly. There are a few misplays, most notably of which was defogging on the Galvantula instead of wishing, when he could have wished to stay healthy and beaten the Galvantula one-on-one. but he defogged immediately instead, and then was forced out. I think he should have wished, and that would have put him in a much better scenario, especially because it was a Life Orb Galvantula, so it was kind of always going to inevitably kill itself. So yeah, I think that was a major misplay. But other than that, I think he played the game fine and prepped fine, and he did what he needed to win. So the reason I have Dewinchell at number 8 is because one of his wins is coming off the back of luck against Reggie, which and that's also his only high-profile win is against Reggie off of luck. And although, like I've gone over many times, I don't think Reggie necessarily deserved to win that game because he didn't play or prep particularly well for it either. It's still, he should have won it, and it came down to luck. And his only other wins are against the teams below him, Flair and Enzo. And his loss comes to Kudo, and Kudo has not been looking impressive this season, so a loss to Kudo is definitely not a very good look. So until he picks up more high-profile wins, he'll be staying at the bottom of the 3-2 pack. He's playing Jolty this week, and that is definitely an opportunity to get one of those high-profile wins. So Dewinchell, if you want to make a name for yourself and step it up, beating Jolty is definitely the way to do it. So number 7, I have Classiel. He beat down Enzo this week. Yeah, he basically just brought a Ditto, and then he bulked up on the Ditto, and then let Ditto claim 3 Mons. So yeah, just really, quite frankly, a pretty dumb game. Yeah, nothing more to say there. I guess the prep was decent to come away with the 6-0, and Enzo played very poorly, but problem with Classiel is that his only real high-profile win is against Jesus Basilisk, who's been extremely inconsistent, so I don't know how much you can count that for. But who else did Classiel beat? I'm trying to remember. He beat Enzo, and he got the forfeit win against Kudo. So yeah, he only has one higher profile win, and that's against Hazy Basilisk, and he's been very inconsistent. So I have him down at number 7. And he has a loss against PETA, which is very substantial. So yeah, I have him down at number 7. PETA and Reggie, which distinctly puts him kind of in the lower pack. But if he can pick up more high-profile wins, then he can definitely start to move up. But the fact that he has lost to people who are also 3-2 kind of puts him towards the lower pack of it. Next up, I have PETA, and PETA is dropping 2 spots this week. Also, I forgot to mention Glacial is dropping 1 spot, not because he played bad, but because I needed to move Jeff above him. So he, in terms of absolute skill and ranking, has not moved for me, or if anything, moved a bit up, but it's still the rankings relative to him have moved up. But PETA is moving down 2 spots. He had played his game early last week. Yeah, he played it early, so I had him in the rankings before against Reggie. But yeah, I just have him moving down 2 spots because Jeff has been impressing me more, and PETA is starting to really come back down to earth. And really, his wins are against, who are they against? Classiel, which he probably shouldn't have won. He kind of just like won with 2 Mons and prepped really badly for it, and I guess he did win it, but that game really wasn't his to win. He just somehow pulled it out. Against me, which was mostly a choke on my part and also a fair amount of luck on his. And the domination of Dewinchell, which, fair enough, but he's also below him on the power rankings. So PETA's going to have to really start to get more consistent because teams who are also 3-2, like Reggie and Hazy, have dealt with him. So he needs to pick it up. And if he starts getting some more good wins under his belt, then he can definitely start to rise again. But he's definitely been looking down, especially these last 2 weeks, or even 3 weeks. Because the battle against Classiel I don't think was particularly good for him either. So up to number 5, I have Hazy Basilisk. So he's really weird. He's beaten PETA, but he's also beaten Tepig, which is a super highly valuable win because Tepig I rate very highly as a player. He hasn't played Kudo yet, but I do expect him to win that battle. Maybe one thing of concern is that his differential is really low. And that's more just because when he loses really hard, and when he wins, he barely wins. But he has been picking up the high-profile wins. He got one against Tepig, which is about as high-profile as the win comes, and he also has one against PETA, which is a very nice win. PETA kind of choked against him. We went over this last week, but nonetheless, it was still a good win, and he played well. Also, PETA kind of hacks through his Dino, which actually looked like it kind of could win that game. So that was also very unfortunate for him, and maybe could have actually helped him out in the differential category if his Dino had stayed alive, because it did look like he didn't really have answers for it. So yeah, he'll just be staying at number 5. Hopefully he becomes more consistent so I can actually feel comfortable rating him, because his losses and wins are very weird. So hopefully he can kind of stabilize, make it easier to rank him. I killed it. Sorry guys, you get spoiled. Number 4, I have Jeff, who played very well against Tepig. I don't think this was Tepig's best week. But nonetheless, Jeff came in and pretty much dominated Tepig. It just seemed like there really wasn't anything Tepig could do to get into the game and break him. He did have a few really questionable plays towards the end of the game, like rapid spinning against a Decidueye, which I understand was a U-turn prediction, but it's still not a good play. And not roosting on the Raikou when it's shown that its only way to touch it was Volt Switch. And risking the crit against Lopunny was also not a great play. I don't think he should have ever risked the crit, but other than that, Jeff played very well and prepped very well, and really impressed me this week, so I'll be moving him up a few spots. He does have that kind of glaring loss against Flare and also a loss against Jolty, but the win against Tepig is also difficult to ignore. And who's his other win against? Enzo and Kudo. So yeah, he has a very nice win against Tepig, and also he has shown himself against the lower teams. Been a bit more consistent than Hazy Basilisk 47, but yeah, I really liked his prep and play this week, and if he can start picking up more good wins, he'll keep moving up. Number 3, I have Jolty, who played me this week, and I feel that Jolty kind of just lost at matchup. He didn't prep well enough to deal with what I had brought for him, and inevitably just kind of got overwhelmed, and there really was not much that he could do about it. He just needed to prep better. To be honest, the game should have been much more in my favor if I didn't make a few really dumb plays. I think I should have won the game 4, if not 5-0. So yeah, I think Jolty, or at least against higher end players, needs to understand that they're going to counter team him and his style, and he needs to become more unpredictable, because the way he preps and plays tends to be very predictable. And with the team I brought against him, there really just was not anything he could do once the matchup started to beat me. But nonetheless, he has probably been the most consistent team out there. He's beaten the teams below him and has lost to the teams above him. So I at the very least appreciate that, Jolty. Making it, I pretty much think that Jolty's the anchor of where you can place people above or below, because he's the only one who actually has rankings that make sense. But other than that, it's kind of just a madhouse in this area. Also, in the area above me, or above Jolty, it's also very tangled. But yeah, I'll have Jolty chilling at number 3. If he takes a loss to D Winchell this week, he'll start to plummet, and he will no longer be that anchor, but I do expect Jolty to win that. Yeah, and we'll see. Something to note is that Jolty did have a lot of major threats that he could have brought this week, such as his Zygarde and his Tangrowth, but he kind of left them, and I think that really hurt his prep as well. But with the prep he brought, it just made it extremely hard to win for him to win the battle. At number 2, we have your boy Reggie. I was very tempted to move Reggie to number 1, especially with Tepig falling to Jeff. But Reggie did lose to Tepig a few weeks ago at this point, I think it is. And it was not a very good showing from Reggie at all, in my opinion. So I'm going to keep him below Tepig for now. However, Reggie has... his only loss basically is to Tepig, because his only other loss was to D-Winchell. And as I've said many times, it was a game to hacks, but Reggie also could have just dominated the game by prepping better. But alas, he is 4-2, and he did lose to Tepig, so I have him below Tepig. Maybe if he kept it closer against Tepig, but I really just did not like the way he played and prepped for the game against Tepig, and it made it hard for me to justify putting Reggie above Tepig. But in future weeks, especially with Tepig playing PETA, if Tepig's falls to PETA, then it'll be very easy to move Reggie up. But it'll depend who can stay more consistent. But with Tepig having the head-to-head over Reggie, I don't feel comfortable placing Reggie above Tepig. And since Tepig, as for this week, Reggie just 6-0'd Kudo with an Incineroar, as Kudo tried to beat it with prankster moves. Obviously there was the Lycanroc Stone Edge miss, which was unfortunate. I'm not entirely sure, so I could be entirely wrong when I say this, but if Incineroar was faster than Lycanroc once it got to +2, then it was probably the better play to go for Flame Charge first, so that you wouldn't have to take 2 Stone Edges after the berry. If that's not the case, then what I'm saying is completely irrelevant, Reggie, but that might have been better. On the other hand as well, the chances of hitting 2 Stone Edges in a row are not that great. It's 0.8 times 0.8, right? So yeah, 0.64. So 64%, that's obviously not in his favor, but it's not. It's like more likely than getting burned by Scald. So definitely not. It was definitely hacks, but also like not unlikely hacks. And at the same time, that Incineroar had already done so much damage, there's no way Reggie was losing that battle anyways. Maybe not a 6-0, but it was still a 6-0. And a good showing by Reggie, but I think it's more just a bad showing by Kudo than a good showing by Reggie, if anything else. My dog just jumped off my bed. So yeah, I'm not really taking this week's results too much to heart from Reggie. But anyway, it's up to Tepig, who got pretty much dominated by Jeff this week. And his number 1 spot is now definitely at stake. If he falters, or if Reggie impresses me against other teams, then he'll definitely be in danger of being overtaken. But Tepig really did not bring the breakers he needed to deal with Jeff's team. With the team that had a Slowbro, Lando, and Tyranitar, he brought Victini as his breaker to break for the Lopunny, which is fair enough, but then he made it Life Orb, which I think was really not a good decision. Because the Victini really just ended up killing itself before it did anything. He brought Life Orb and then clicked U-turn like 3 or 4 times, and like lots of times under sand. So he was taking U-turn chip, sand chip, and even a Rocky Helmet from Slowbro. The Victini did like a bit of damage to Tyranitar with the U-turns, and V created the Slowbro for like 40 and died. But like Band did everything Life Orb did, but better here. This matchup, Life Orb was not the set to bring. Victini killed itself before it did anything, and Lopunny was just stranded trying to beat a full health Slowbro and was never going to happen. Also, his Raikou really was not great this week. It could not beat a Togekiss, and because he couldn't beat the Togekiss, because his only attacking move was Volt Switch, he really couldn't do anything to threaten the Togekiss besides threaten it with Bolt Strikes, and that meant bringing his Victini and making it kill itself before it could do anything, and the Victini had to come in on a Volt Switch or something. So Tepig made the matchup very hard for himself by bringing improper breakers. He also had this mindset where he felt that his Blastoise threatened out the Jeff's Togekiss, which really didn't make sense to me because his Ice Beam was doing only like 20 to 30% to it. So his Togekiss had Roost and Blastoise had no recovery, so there really was nothing forcing the Togekiss out or even giving it a reason not to click HP Ground constantly, because there was his Togekiss beat it, or Jeff's Togekiss won the one-on-one even by clicking HP Ground, and it could keep threats. Oh my, there's a voice crack. It could keep the threats out by clicking HP Ground and still win the one-on-one. So I think Tepig had a very poor mentality of thinking that he was obligated to click Air Slash in that scenario, because there really was nothing that the Blastoise could do to threaten the Togekiss. So yeah, I just think improper breakers, especially in his Raikou and his Victini, just doomed Tepig to fail this week because he had no way to break through the fat that was his Slowbro, his Jeff's Slowbro, Jeff's Togekiss, and to some extent his Landorus. So we'll see what happens again with Tepig against PETA. That should be an interesting match. But yeah, those are my rankings for week 5, and I'll see you next week.